So I've been a little hesitant to record this video. Um, I went on a date a few weeks ago. It was about 3 Sundays ago with a Chicago TikTok influencer. He has about 175,000 followers or so. I haven't checked his page in a few weeks, so it could have gone up. Um, it was a super scary situation for me. I have been dating for the past 6 years. I'm divorced. Dating is definitely not what it once was. I was previously in a 15-year relationship. So dating nowadays is, online dating, dating apps, DMs, and so forth. So after the date, or after I ran off because I was scared for my life, I contacted my girlfriends. I had told my girlfriends who he was, and it turned out that a couple of my girlfriends followed him. One of them who had actually communicated with him a few years ago. So that was pretty scary as well because it's such a small world and you never know who everyone else knows. And, we're all in the Chicago area. I'm in the northern suburbs. But at the same time, I've never been more scared for my life than I was on this day. And I decided to finally put this out there just because he could be doing this to other people. And I know he's on the dating scene. I know he DMs people. He's messaged me. He messaged my girlfriend. He's on dating apps and so forth. And he portrays himself to be like a mental health coach online. And I can tell you, I do not believe he's truly a mental health coach. I think it's all a persona he created for TikTok. And it was definitely a very scary situation for me. So I'm going to continue on with a part 2 tomorrow. I'm waiting on my installer, and I think he just arrived. We're putting new windows in the house, so I got to go, but I will continue on with a part 2 and kind of give you guys the details of everything that happened, what led to what, and even decisions that I made that I shouldn't have made myself on going to see him to begin with. Red flags, be aware of the red flags. Be very cautious. Always meet in a super public place when you're meeting someone for the first time, because people portray themselves to be something they're not on social media, through conversations, and it's all just to try to reel you in. Hey guys, so this is part 2 of why I was scared for my life when I went out with a Chicago TikTok influencer. I hope you guys don't mind me being in my bed, but it's way more comfortable than standing in front of a camera. So I had talked to this guy for some time over the phone. He enjoyed having phone conversations over text messages, and I truly enjoy phone conversations too. So he had like a really good vibe over the phone. We could talk about anything. We would joke around. We would laugh a lot. He would make some like sexual comments just to gauge how I would take it, and I kind of would just brush them off. But what I did notice was that in the evenings, I would definitely not hear from him, or I would text him in the evening and he would let me know he was about to step out with his friends and that he would hit me up the next day. I would just brush that off. I'm like, we literally just started dating, aren't even dating, we're having phone conversations, so we hadn't even met at this point. So I would brush it off. So we had finally decided to meet on Sunday. Sunday comes around, he messaged me during the day. He asks me, if I would want to have him cook for me or if I'd rather go out to dinner. And I'm like, I definitely would rather go out to dinner. I don't know you. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to your house. He said, okay, that's understandable. Let me send you a location. So he sends me a location of a like wings and burgers place on the north side of Chicago. And we set to meet at like 5 p.m. I let him know I had to go out to the city because I had to get turmeric anyway, so I didn't mind coming out his way. So 3 o'clock comes around and I'm getting ready, about to leave, and he's a little frantic, and he tells me that his mom had fallen down the stairs and she's being taken to the emergency room by ambulance. I'm like, do not worry about me. We can cancel. No worries. I'll talk to you later. Do what you need to do. So we hang up. He calls me back 30 minutes later saying he was just getting to the hospital. He wanted to see if I was still coming out to the city, and I told him yes. I said, I'm just going to go get what I need from the store and probably do dinner by myself. He's like, no, don't do that. I'm going to see if I can get out of here soon. So he calls me back about another 30 minutes later, and I'm already in the store shopping. And he's like, well, my mom ended up fracturing her wrist and bruising her pelvis, and they're going to keep her overnight. This is a key part of the story. He stated they're keeping her there overnight. Remember that. So I said, okay. And then he asks me if I would meet him at his house because he has to get dressed, and maybe we could just have a drink before we go out to dinner. And against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him for a drink at his house. So this is where I'm cutting it off. I will continue with part 3. You'll get part 3 later today. But against my better judgment, I went to his house. So this is part 3 of why I was scared for my life when I went out on a date with a Chicago TikTok influencer. I hope you guys don't mind me on my bed, but this is like super comfortable for me. I just feel like I'm FaceTiming with friends. So okay, we left off on the fact that his mom was staying at the hospital, or so he says. And he asked me to come have a drink with him because he had to get ready for us to go out to dinner. So against my better judgment, I agreed to that. He sends me his location. I drive to his home. He calls me en route and gives me a heads up that there's like a drug dealer on his corner. That this random guy just recently started standing on that corner. Okay. So I pull up and the location is like super sketchy block, like super sketchy. So I check my phone, I make sure that my location's on, and I'm on Life 360. I would typically turn it off if I have like a guy I'm going to see, but I made sure not to turn it off this time. I wanted my kids to see where I'm at. I have custody of my niece and nephew, so they're on my Life 360, and then I have 3 friends that are on my Life 360. So the bad part was no one knew I was going on a date. I typically let someone know I'm going on a date, but I felt so comfortable with this guy. Like the persona he identified as on TikTok made me feel like he's a decent guy. He was a principal at some point, a teacher, a coach. He's supposedly a wellness coach. He seems like a decent dude, but none of his videos are ever in his home. All his videos are in his car. Some old videos were like in the school, in the gym before, but nothing actually was ever in his home. But for some reason, based on our conversations and what I saw on TikTok, I felt comfortable with this man, and I said okay to going to his home. So I pull up to his house, like I said, super sketchy neighborhood, and he comes outside to get me from the car. He's dressed in basketball shorts, a baggy t-shirt, like old t-shirt, and some house shoes. Like he had not left the house the entire day. It is like 6 o'clock in the evening, and this is how he's dressed. I get it if you're moping around the house all day, but he supposedly went to the dispensary, went to the hospital, and this is how you've been dressed all day. So he starts like guiding me into his place. He tells me he lives there with his sister, that they both own the home, and he lives in the basement. So he guides me towards the basement. The stairs going down there are all broken. Like I'm in booties, and I feel like I'm gonna bust an ankle. So as I'm walking in, I open the door, and he lives like a complete bum. Like nothing like the person that I saw on TikTok. On TikTok, he looks clean cut, put together. He's a wellness coach, so he looks like he has his shit together on TikTok. This is not the person or how he identified in real life. And we are again out of time, and we have to go into a part 4 in the next video.